Let's be real, everybody wants to feel safe and secure, and especially when it comes to personal information on your phone. And most people make the assumption that all of this important stuff just falls into place automatically.
Everyone knows when you make an assumption, you make an ass out of you and umption.
Regardless of whether you're a tech novice or a total pro, there are some essential security and privacy settings on the Galaxy S25 series that you need to know about. So that's what I'm going to show you in this video, more than 20 tips and tricks and hidden features to level up your security and privacy on your smartphone. So join me and let's get your phone security locked down. Okay, so there are 3 worst case scenarios that could happen. Number 1, someone could steal your phone straight out of your hands. Number 2, someone hacks your account. Or number 3, you accidentally lose or lock yourself out of your phone. So let's try and tackle all 3 of those right now. First thing to do is this: swipe up, go to the Samsung folder. Within the Samsung folder, you will have the Find app. So when you set this up for the first time, there's a couple of things that I think you should look at. If you hit the 3 dots just up here, and go to settings, tap on your Samsung account at the top. And if you're prompted to add a password here, I highly recommend you do it. You can set up an actual password and you can set up a passkey. I do recommend you do both. Step 2, we go back 1 step, and here you will see Samsung Find website. So this looks very similar to the Find app itself, except this loads up within the web browser and can be loaded up within any web browser. So one very important step to take straight away is to copy this address up here and email it to yourself and give it a catchy title that you can remember to look for. So something like this. Now send this to yourself and make sure it's an email address that you know the password to, because if someone nicks your phone, you lose your phone. If you can get to a computer, you can go straight to this and then find out where that phone is. Okay, tip number 2, and this one is super important and true story. Literally yesterday, my friend in central London was walking home from work, got his phone snatched out of his hand whilst he was FaceTiming with his family. Now, the question for you guys is, what do you think the first thing a phone thief will do once they've stolen your phone? Well, the answer to that question is they will try and turn it off in the hope that you won't be able to track them. And the reality is, well, you won't be able to track them unless you do this. Go to your settings, security and privacy. We will come back to this page, don't worry. Here we're going to go to lost device protection and then find my mobile. And here you want to turn on offline finding and send last location. Just in case your phone's running low on power when it was stolen, the phone will send its last known location before it ran out of power. So I definitely recommend switching this on. And of course, that top one should be switched on by default. If it isn't, just switch it on. Tip number 3. So there is another scenario that might play out if someone snatches your phone. They could choose to keep your phone screen open and snoop through all of your personal stuff like your messages, your photos, your emails. They won't be able to access all of your money and stuff, but they could get 2-factor authentications sent to your phone. So this one I do believe is an important step to take. Just like before, we're going to go into the settings, security and privacy, lost device protection. And this time we're going to go to theft protection. And there are a few things to look at here. So the identity check, if you want to, you can set up safe spaces like your home address or your work address. But what I really want to show you here is the theft detection lock. So this feature is designed to detect if your phone has been snatched out of your hand and is moving very quickly away from you. And it does this in a few ways. It uses Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and the other sensors built into the phone. And do keep in mind, this feature will only kick in if your phone is unlocked, which is typically the scenario this kind of thing happens. So I don't see a downside to turning this on. You got nothing to lose other than your smartphone if some snatches it out of your hand one day while you're walking down the street. Okay, this next step is another important one. Let's say someone's literally held you at gunpoint or something and taken your phone off you. In that scenario, the theft detection lock won't pick up that that's happened. So they could walk off with your phone screen unlocked. But there is a safety measure that you can put in place now that could help you with that. And it is this feature right here, the remote lock. This is a feature that is not switched on day one unless you switch it on. And just like before, once you've switched this on, this little web address here, you want to copy that and email it to yourself. And one more tip for these worst case scenarios, it is the offline device lock. So if you turn this on, let's say someone grabs your phone and the first thing they do is not switch it off, but they actually turn off the mobile data. Well, this will actually lock the phone instantly. And the reason they might try and turn off the mobile data is because they might think that's one of the ways that the phone can be tracked. Little do they know that actually there are more ways. But this is another little safety measure that you can put in place if worst comes to worst. Okay, so the last scenario where you might be separated from your phone would be if you accidentally lose your phone. And there is one very important feature that you can use on this phone, which I do think most people will probably overlook completely most of the time. Here's how you get to it. If you go to your settings, scroll down until you see lock screen and AOD. And if you scroll down on this page, you will see contact information. So right here, you can add a bit of contact information that will allow someone to contact you if you don't have your phone. So this could be an email address, a friend's phone number, family member's phone number, something like that. All right, time for a little bonus tip. And this really is quite fundamental, but sometimes people overlook the fundamental stuff and just very quickly run through the entire setup process of a new phone without really checking all of the features and tick boxes and adding the things that will make using the phone easier and more secure. What I'm getting at here is this. So if you go into your settings, security and privacy, secure lock and biometrics. Now, if you really care about security on your phone, a 6-digit PIN is going to be better than a 4-digit PIN. A password even better than that. With the Galaxy phones, because they only have a single camera on the front, this means that the face unlock is only 2D, and that makes it a bit easier to fool. So the best and most secure biometric method on Samsung Galaxy phones is definitely the fingerprint. And if you only set up one fingerprint, you're making life more difficult for yourself. So here's how you add more. Go to fingerprints, add another one. My advice is that you scan your thumb and your first finger on your dominant hand, and then just your thumb on your less dominant hand. Now, it's worth noting you can have 4 biometric fingerprints scanned into your phone, but I'm only doing 3, and that is for a good reason. And that reason is because there is a secret hidden feature which you can use. I will show you that if you stick around. Anyway, get your fingerprints logged in and let's move on. Okay, so we've protected your phone from theft, but what happens if you drop your phone? Well, you probably want a good case. And for me, the best cases out there are the ones that don't change the form factor too much. And really, this brand, PITAKA, are the OGs when it comes to aramid fiber cases. And they've sent me over some amazing cases here. They haven't sponsored this video, but I just love these cases so much that I feel like I need to tell you about them. And one of these cases is truly special. But anyway, let me show you these. So I've got this one, the tactile woven case. This is in the reddish brownish kind of shades, which is really quite nice. They're kind of neutral colors. So let's get a look at this one. So as you can see, you've got your magnets built into these cases. You've also got this metallic camera protectors around the edge here, which raise up above the glass. And this is how the case looks once it's fitted. You've got these nice cutouts down the side here and at the base here. And if you look closely at the corners, you'll see they're raised up around the edges. Now this one is nice, but this one right here is definitely more my style, and it's kind of the brand colors. It's got this kind of organic look to it with the stitching and the pattern. It almost gives it a 3D look. And there's a lot of aramid fiber cases out there, and most of them, in fact, pretty much all of the other ones are just black or solid colors. I think PITAKA are the only brand that are doing patterns. Okay, so I think the blue one is my case of choice. However, this one right here, the PITAKA pin button case, is something truly special because not only does it protect the phone more than the carbon fiber cases, it has carbon fiber built into it, so it kind of has the same look. But on top of that, it adds 3 more buttons to the phone and it levels up the user experience. Check this out. The inside of the case has this kind of Alcantara soft finish. It's got the magnets built in, and then this little area right here is actually an NFC area, and it links to the buttons on the side up here. So these are what PITAKA calls the pin buttons, and each one of these can be mapped through the Modes and Routines app on the Samsung phone to pretty much do anything. So this case does have raised bumpers all the way around. It has the volume button and power button on this side. It's got raised plastic around the camera lenses and all the way across the bottom as well, so offering more security than the aramid fiber. But the big deal here really is these pin buttons, which can each be mapped to specific features. So far I've only mapped one, and it's this one at the top, which opens the camera. So if you spend a bit of time, you can set up a few different features here. For example, one of them could be the wallet, one of them could be the flashlight, one of them could be the camera, or you could even set a silent button here. And it truly is one of the most unique cases I've ever looked at here on the channel. If you want to check out the prices on any of these, there will be affiliate links below this video. If you use those, you will be supporting the channel. Anyway, moving on. So when you set up your phone for the first time, did you just fly through the setup process, agree to all of the T's and C's, agree to pretty much everything it said just to get up and running with your phone for the first time? If the answer to that question is yes, then my friend, you like to live dangerously. And you should know,
I also like to live dangerously.
But one thing you should be aware of is that there was one tick box which you probably shouldn't have left ticked. And if you did, don't worry, you're watching this video, I'm gonna show you how to fix that right now. Go into your settings, security and privacy, scroll all the way down to where you see more privacy settings. Here you can disable sending diagnostic data. This is mainly used by Samsung for product improvements, but it also allows them to see what features you're not using on your phone as well. Things like the Bluetooth in the S Pen on the S24. In fact, it is one of the big reasons why they did scrap it on the S25. Another reason for them doing that actually is the fact that the EU are saying that the battery in there needs to be replaceable and easily repairable. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. By not sending diagnostic data to Samsung, you're not compromising any of the performance on your phone. And even though that data is encrypted, switching this off, if you're data conscious, could be a good thing. Okay, here are some privacy tips for when you're browsing the internet. And these are for Samsung's own internet browser, which is this one right here. It is the default one on Samsung phones. And if you do use Chrome, don't worry, I've got a few tips for that as well. But within the Samsung browser, if you hit the burger menu right here,
This is a tasty burger.
on this page, you can go to add-ons. And at the top, you'll see ad blockers. So there is one ad blocker that's suggested by Samsung for their browser, and it is this one here, AdBlock for Samsung Internet. This is a third-party app, but since Samsung are recommending it, it must be pretty good. So blocking ads is a good way to protect your privacy online because a lot of ads do often carry cookies, which can then track you from site to site. And also pop-ups are just so bloody annoying. All right, this next one is just kind of guidance as opposed to a permanent setting that you can change. It's a little trick that you can use if you do end up on a website that you really don't want to be on and you don't care about and you don't want to get ads from this website later on down the line. So let's say you're on the website. If you scroll all the way down, you'll see there is a padlock in the top left corner of the browser. If you tap that padlock, you then get the privacy information for that web page, so you can see how many tracking attempts that the site has made. And these aren't always malicious. Usually these are Google ads and things like that. But you can also see the cookies that have been added. And the best thing about this tool is it allows you to delete the cookies straight away right here on the page that you're on. Now you might be wondering, what the hell is a cookie? Well, think of it like this. If you walked into a shop to buy a pair of trainers, let's say, and then you decided actually there's no trainers that I like in here, and you left and you walked down the street, and at every corner, someone jumped out at you and said, hey, remember those trainers you were just looking at? Do you want to buy them? They're right here. And then you hit the next corner and someone jumps out and says, hey, remember those trainers? Well, yeah, that's what cookies will do. They'll basically follow you around trying to sell you something that you probably didn't want to buy in the first place. All right, here's a little bonus tip, and this one's just kind of a word of advice, probably that nobody's told you yet. Next time you're browsing the web and you hit a website that has a banner like this that says that the website uses cookies, most people will just go allow all because they feel like if they don't, the site won't work properly. The truth is, if you decline all of the cookies, the website will work in exactly the same way. All this means is that website can't follow you around from web page to web page. So don't feel bad about declining optional cookies. All right, so here's a tip for Chrome. If you do prefer to use Chrome, hit the three dots in the top right corner, go to your settings. Here, go to privacy and security. And then here, go to third-party cookies. Now, by default, block third-party cookies in incognito mode is enabled, but it's not enabled for just regular mode. So I do recommend that you block all third-party cookies all the time. And when it says some features may not work, what it's probably referring to there is it won't remember what you were looking at when you were last on the site. For example, if you were at the Nike shop and you were looking at a specific t-shirt, that specific t-shirt won't just automatically pop up as soon as you hit the website. So don't see that as a negative. And I do recommend you change this setting just for your own privacy. Okay, so one of the easy ways that someone can steal information from your phone is if you've installed an app which can extract the data. And you may have done this and you may not even realize it, but there is a way to check if this is happening. So that's what I'm going to show you here. Go into your settings, go to apps, hit the three dots in the top right corner, and here you will see special access. If you scroll down on this page, you will see usage data access. So here we have a list of all of the apps that can monitor the data on your device. And if you go through this list and spot any apps that don't look like they should be there, then you can just switch them off. But do take a look at this and you can actually see how much data is collected from each one of these apps as well. So if there's anything that's got a really big number next to it, yeah, you might want to look at that twice. Now going back to the setup process on your phone, when you first set up your phone, did you read all of the stuff about Google Assistant? My guess is you didn't, and maybe at the time you were like,
this is fine.
And you probably didn't realize this, but Google actually keeps a bunch of your voice data on file, sometimes for a very, very long time if you don't tell it otherwise. And the worst thing is that data can be accessed by other apps and things like that without you knowing, unless you do this. Swipe up, go to your Google folder. Here you should see the Google app. Go to this. In the top right corner, hit your little icon and scroll down and hit settings. Here you want to go to Google Assistant and scroll down until you see this section right here, your data in the Assistant. So if you scroll down, you can see some of the recent activity via your Google account, and this could be activity on different Google devices that you have. But if you keep scrolling down, you'll see the option to see and delete activity. If you tap that, you can customize what activity is saved, and then you can also turn on the auto delete. Now, by default, the auto delete will be on 18 months, but if you prefer to be a bit more private, you can set it to 3 months. And once you do that, it will delete everything outside of the 3-month range. So I do recommend you do that. And whilst you're on this page, there's another very well hidden feature here, which I do recommend you enable. Just below auto delete, you'll see manage my activity verification. Tap that. And then on this page, you can require extra verification. So this just keeps all of that private data that the Google Assistant has on you a little more safe. And if someone does try to access it, you'll get alerted to that because it will require your own personal verification. Okay, so here's another setting that you should switch off on day one that probably most people will never switch off is this. Go into your settings, go to security and privacy again, scroll all the way down to the more privacy section. And who doesn't want more privacy? So on the more privacy settings page, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see usage and diagnostics. Here, this is switched on. Just like the Samsung ones that we switched off earlier, this is for Google specifically. And again, this is just used for research purposes for them to improve the software, the apps, all those kind of things. And if you do switch this off, it won't affect the performance of your own personal phone. It just means you won't be sending so much anonymous information to third parties. So if you do lose your phone or someone steals your phone, you probably want to get your data back at some point, and your phone will back up all of that data. The problem is the way that it backs it up isn't the most secure by default, which is strange to me. But if you want to enhance your data protection, you can do it pretty easily. To do this, just go to your settings, scroll down to your security and privacy. This time, instead of more privacy, we're going to more security settings. And on this page, we're going to go to enhanced data protection. This will check the phone. And as you can see, both of these switches are off by default. And switching this on will not change the way the phone performs at all. All it will do is encrypt all of your backup data and all of your sync data so that if one day it is intercepted, it'll be very difficult for them to decode it. Now, this next one is just a quick one, and it is something that's offered to you when you set your phone up for the first time. My guess is you did enable it, but just in case you didn't, let me show you where it is. If you go into your settings, security and privacy again, right here, you will see the option for auto blocker. This is super important because viruses can be installed via a USB wire or by plugging a device into your phone, also from unauthorized apps and things like that, and actually even from messages coming to your phone from other devices. So this blocks all of that. It's kind of like an antivirus, Samsung's own antivirus. So if this is not on your phone, definitely switch it on right now. Okay, this next one really depends on how you feel about AI and how AI learns from you to become even more intelligent. If you don't want the AI to be learning from you, and you don't want all of this data being studied by the machines, you can stop that from happening. And this is how you do that. Go into your settings, go to Galaxy AI, scroll all the way to the bottom, and you will see process data only on device. This means that the device will not send any of your information across the web. It will all be handled right here on your phone. So if you're worried about AI taking over the world, then maybe this would be a good move for you. Because you never know, once AI gets its hands on quantum computing, we could all be in trouble. Or it could be the greatest technological revolution that ever happened to mankind that we know of. So here's a question for you. Have you ever received a one-time passcode on your phone, copied it, and then pasted it in to wherever it is that was requesting that one-time passcode? Or have you copied your entire password to paste it into an app or something? Well, if the answer to either one of those is yes, then you should definitely do this right now. Go to your settings, security and privacy, scroll to the bottom of this page and go to controls and alerts. And then here you will see alert when clipboard is accessed. Switch this on. So once this is enabled, every time an app wants to access any data that's been stored on your keyboard, you will know about it. Okay, here's a bonus tip. And again, we go to settings, we go to security and privacy. This time we go to more security settings. And then here, right at the top of this page, you will see secure Wi-Fi. This is basically a VPN that's provided by Samsung for free within reason. So you get up to 1 gig per month for free. If you want more than that, you can subscribe and pay for more. You can toggle this on and off as and when you want to, just by coming here and hitting protect. And you can also swipe down from the top, hit the little pen here, hit the edit on your quick settings, and then you can also add the secure Wi-Fi to your quick settings, so you don't have to find the settings page every single time. And we could even drag it up to the top, so it's even easier to find. And the only time you should really be using this, especially if you're not going to subscribe for the additional data, is when you're on public hotspots. You can set it to auto protect your Wi-Fi, so it will recognize when you're on an unknown network and it will switch it on then, or you can just do it manually like I just showed you with the quick setting. And trust me, when you're on a public hotspot, you definitely want to protect your privacy. Okay, here's another little privacy tip. And this really is quite a rare use case, but it's a nice couple of tools to set up just in case one day you need to use them. So if you swipe down top right corner, hit the pen here, you have your quick settings right here in the middle. If you go to edit, just like we did before with the secure Wi-Fi, there's a couple of options you can add here, which if you're security conscious, you'll appreciate the most. It is the camera access and the microphone access. So by adding these two to your quick settings, next time if you're on a conference call or anything like that and the actual software doesn't let you switch off your camera or switch off your mics, you can actually use these to do that and it won't disconnect you from your call. And if you're ever feeling a little bit paranoid, maybe you're worried about TikTok spying on you or something, well then you can just switch these off manually and have that peace of mind knowing that your camera and your microphones are completely inaccessible with these switched off. Okay, this next one is kind of a beginner's tip, but it's an important decision that you need to make, and maybe you've made a decision without realizing it, and that might sound confusing. So let me show you what I mean. If you go into your settings, security and privacy, more security, and it's this section here, passwords, passkeys, and autofill, that you need to take a look at. So by default, your Samsung phone will use the Samsung Pass to store all of your passwords. Now, it is great, it works well, it's very safe and secure, but I actually prefer the Google password service because I use Google Chrome on my Apple Mac computers. I also use it on my Windows computers, and also when I use other phones and things like that that are not Samsung, I can still bring all of my passwords with me with Google. So if you are someone who uses Chrome a lot and Google services a lot, I do recommend you switch this preferred service here to Google. And you can still have Samsung Pass as well as a backup, but this just means when it comes to autofill and things like that and passkeys, it will use the Google services. And also, if you do use the Google services, there's an extra tool here, which is really cool. Check this out, tap on where it says Google, hit continue. On this page, you will see the Google Password Manager. And within the Password Manager, if you go to the checkup section at the bottom of this page, it will actually scan all of the passwords that are saved to your account and highlight any that are at risk due to data breaches, and also passwords that maybe you've used too many times. So it's a very useful tool, but do remember this only works if you're using the Google Password Manager. Okay, so this next one's a perfect tool for anyone who has sensitive documents or files and folders and whatever on your phone. Go into your settings, go to security and privacy, go to more security, and here you will see secure folder. If you set this up, what this does is it creates a space on your phone that can only be accessed by a separate password different from your PIN. So now that folder's been set up, here's how you can move things into it. So if we go into the all apps, we go to files right here. We can go to an image, for example, and open it up in the folder. We can then hit the three dots at the top right corner and move it to the secure folder. That's one way you can move things to the secure folder. And if you do want to move documents and files and things like that, the best way to do it is, again, through the My Files app. You find a document that you want to move. I don't think I have any on here yet, but you'd select them, you'd hit the three dots, and then it'll give you the option to move it to the secure folder. Now, when it comes to locating the secure folder at a later date, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can either go to all apps and it will be here. You can drag this onto your home screen so you have access to it at all times. Another way you can do it is by swiping down, hitting the pen up here, going to edit in the shortcuts, and then you can add the secure folder from the shortcuts options right here. So this way it's kind of hidden away a little bit more. And one reason why you might want to add the quick shortcut as opposed to the app on the home screen is you can actually hide the secure folder completely. So right now the secure folder is off, the app has disappeared from the home screen. If I switch it back on, it does come back, but it comes back just within the app drawer. Okay, so you've made it all the way to the final chapter, and this one really is important. It's all about emergency situations. So check this out. If we go into the settings on the phone, safety and emergency. I think most people who have this phone probably have never even looked at this, but you can put all of your medical information into this device. So if you are involved in a serious accident, at least the medics on scene could actually recover some of this important medical information. And this is even more important if you do have any severe allergies to like penicillin and things like this. And if you're wondering how could a medic actually access this data if you are involved in a serious accident or something, well, when your phone's locked, if they bring up the power menu, they can get access to this data without unlocking your phone. Now, I'm not sure if this is something that medical professionals know about, but I'd like to think so. So spend a little time, it could be a lifesaver, quite literally. All right, back into the settings again. And again, we're gonna go to safety and emergency. I highly recommend you set up emergency contacts because you can use an emergency sharing mode if something bad does happen. So just add the most important people who could help you out if you were in trouble. And these contacts can be accessible the same way as the medical information is from the lock screen.
Sometimes happens, someone has to deal with it, and who are you going to call?
Now the next step to this is to enable the emergency sharing. So tap on that, go to more, go to continue. So once you've set up a few contacts, you can choose to add pictures when there is an emergency, and you can also choose to capture a 5-second voice recording when you start the emergency sharing. And you might be wondering, how do I even start the emergency sharing? Well, if you go to emergency SOS, you have a couple of options here. You can push the power key 5 times, and that will happen automatically, or you can set it to 5 times plus a swipe. That way you don't accidentally do that whilst it's in your pocket. And when you do that, you can make an emergency call to the emergency services and at the same time send an SOS to your emergency contacts as well, because you never know, those contacts might show up before the emergency services do. Okay, this next one is going to be very handy for anyone who has a very expensive car or who's worried about being followed or tracked. Check this out. Go into your settings, safety and emergency. At the bottom of this page, you will see unknown tracker alerts. So there are quite a lot of different trackers out there and some very popular ones. I'm sure you know which ones I'm talking about. But what this feature does is it will alert you if there is one traveling with you. So let's say you've got in your car, you've driven for 20 minutes and that tracker is still right next to you. That probably means someone is tracking your vehicle and the phone should pick it up. But one of the cool features here is you can actually manually scan for trackers. And to do that, you just hit scan now, and then that will check whether there are any around you that maybe you're not aware of. Now this one is really an extreme precaution, but it's good to know that you can do it if you need to. Let's say you find yourself in a situation where you think someone is going to steal your phone, or they're going to try and make you unlock your phone so they can access your stuff. There is a feature called lockdown here. Let me show you how to enable it. So if you go into your settings, go to lock screen and AOD. On this page, you want to go to the secure lock settings and put your PIN number. And then at the bottom of this page, you will see show lockdown mode option. Make sure that's enabled. Now, when you bring up your power menu, you will see the lockdown mode pop up right here. If you tap that, that strips back a load of features on the phone, including the biometrics. So the only way you can get into this phone now is with your PIN number. And like I said before, 6-digit is ideal. Okay, so we've covered a lot so far. And if you've followed along with all these tips and tricks when it comes to security,
You're gonna be a bad motherfucker.
but check this out, if you want to double up on security a little bit more, here's a couple of extra features that you can use. Go into your settings, go to Google. Here you'll see that Google does have their own Find My Device app, which you can install, and this works just like the one we set up with Samsung, and it can run alongside it. This is definitely something you're going to want to do if you have other Google devices like earbuds or Google smartwatches and things like that. And this could potentially just give you a bit more coverage when it comes to discovering where your phone is. So if you set this to with all networks in all areas, this means that your phone can detect where it is based off of other people's Wi-Fi signals. So this is really for those of you out there who want to be extra safe when it comes to tracking your phone down if it's stolen. And here's a little follow-up to that one, staying within the Find My Device from Google app. If you tap on your device right here and you go to the Find My Device settings here, you have a few more options like the remote lock, which I showed you before with the Samsung one, and also the Find Your Offline Devices as well. Okay, so you made it all the way to the end, and you might be wondering what happened to that trick that I mentioned with your other finger on your less dominant hand to create a unique action on the phone. Go to the Store app, search for Good Lock. It's exclusively made for Samsung devices. These are the ultimate customization options for Samsung devices, and I have made videos that go way into depth into all of these things, but I'm just going to show you this one because I promised it at the beginning of this video. If you go to Routines Plus and download this app, now open it. On the home screen of this page, you will see fingerprint to website. And if you go to unlock with fingerprint, you can choose which fingerprint will initiate this. So right now we've only got 2. I'm gonna register a 3rd one. Just for demo purposes, I'm gonna use the little finger on my left hand. When I label this pinky, just so I know that it is that. Now, when I go back to the Routines Plus and go to unlock with fingerprint, I can choose the pinky. And now in the then section, if I go to edit, I can actually remove go to website and actually choose something else like an app, open an app. Let's say Google Wallet, just for demonstration purposes, and hit save. And there we go, that routine is now created. And now whenever I unlock the phone with my pinky, it jumps straight into the Google Wallet. So this could be very, very useful if you use it in the right way. And if you guys have ever watched any of my videos in the past, whenever I get to this point, I usually say something like, I would really appreciate it if you'd subscribe. And the response that I tend to get is,
I don't care!
Anyway, if you wouldn't mind, I would appreciate it. And if you got any value out of this one, then that's good news, because that's what I made this video for. And if you didn't know, this is actually part 2 of a 4-part series. If you missed part 1 or you want to check out the others, they're all on screen right now. And if you just subscribed, I will see you in the next one. Don't be late.